Before we really get into this topic, I need to preface this with something that might make sense to some of you and then might at the same time also frustrate some of you as well. Bump stocks and slide fire stocks are a product that are completely useless in almost any serious or real application that you would want to use a firearm for. There is almost no practical purpose other than them being very fun to shoot to own one. They burn through ammo, they burn through money very quickly. They aren't very good for actual use as a normal stock, and they basically suck. But the ban of them was quite possibly one of the worst things that have happened to the Second Amendment nationwide since the original machine gun ban and the NFA bans that happened back in the 60s and the 80s. Now, let me explain why, as well as we're going to talk about some of the hypocrisy of the NRA. The reason that we're talking about this today is because Gun Owners of America, the organization who has been actively fighting the bump stock ban in the Sixth Circuit and successfully won at a lower circuit court level, announced today or recently that the NRA is stepping on and joining forces with the Gun Owners of America and the Gun Owners Foundation to fight the ban on the bump stocks. Which is interesting when we consider the fact that in 2017, the NRA said, and I quote, "The NRA believes that devices designed to allow semi-automatic rifles to function like fully automatic rifles should be subject to additional regulations." In their defense, in one of their later statements after the ruling came out banning bump stocks, declaring bump stocks themselves a machine gun, not saying that putting one on a gun converts a firearm into a machine gun, the ATF said that the bump stock itself is a machine gun. So owning a bump stock would be just as illegal as owning a crew-served full-auto minigun. The NRA said after that, after the rules came out, that they don't believe that regulations have ever worked. Which is interesting when they initially pushed for Congress and the ATF to look and redefine bump stocks as full auto because they believed that it should be subject to further regulation. Now let's talk about why I said that it is one of the worst things that's happened since the NFA and the machine gun bans back in the mid to late 1900s. It's kind of weird to say, right? Mid to late 1900s, because we're in the 2000s now, and I was born in the 90s, and it's just weird to think about time of the 1980s as like, oh, the 1980s were like, it was 40 years ago. Weird. Anyway, the reason that this is quite possibly the worst thing that's happened to us is because when you look at what the bump stock ban allowed, the bump stock ban opened the doors for the ATF being allowed to have full reign and control to regulate. The ATF is supposed to interpret and enforce certain laws. Now, I think the NFA and the ATF should just go away. But unfortunately, that's not the world we're currently living in. And the bump stock ban, what it did was it gave the ATF the power to regulate with almost zero oversight and zero control. They can do whatever they want. The bump stock ban was something that Congress and the government allowed to happen, encouraged to happen, and set the precedent for everything that we're seeing now with the 80%, the firearm reclassification, the pistol brace ban, all the things that are currently going on with the ATF are working on the precedents that was given to them with the bump stock ban, which was supported by the NRA initially. Right now we're seeing pistol braces, a product which had been considered legal by the ATF, specifically said by the ATF that, hey, these products are legal, you can do them this way. They kind of rolled it back in around 2015 and then went back to saying, yeah, pistol braces, good to go, you can keep using those. And now we're seeing the ATF say that no, putting a brace on a firearm is actually making a short-barreled rifle. These types of regulations that the ATF is putting forward are being encouraged by Congress and the president. I'm so thankful that we have a president that's definitely not going to focus on guns, or at least that's what the liberal gun owners said. They said, oh, he's going to be so busy focusing on everything else. Seems like he's kind of only focusing on guns, if you ask me, but what do I know? So now we have a situation where the ATF is trying to redefine pistol braces, calling any firearm equipped with them a short-barreled rifle, which potentially gets into a weird spot where if they say those are rifles, if your firearm was built as one of those firearms with a pistol brace initially, could you even legally take off the pistol brace? Because then you have a firearm that is built from a rifle and therefore would still be an SBR because it's a firearm built from a rifle with a barrel length of under 16 inches. A lot of big questions to be had. So now that they've got that free reign and control, in addition to that, they're going after the 80% and redefining what a frame or receiver or what a firearm is. I'm going to leave links down below where you can watch some of my previous videos about that, as well as some links that would allow you to then go and comment on those proposed rules and regulations being set forth by the ATF. All of those things have been built on the fact that the bump stock ban was allowed to happen. The reason that this case, that the Gun Owners of America has been fighting so hard, and that now apparently the NRA cares about, the reason it's so important is because it would take away the ability for the ATF to regulate in such ways. Because again, the ATF is not a governing body that's allowed to or should have the authority to make rules and laws, because that's essentially what they're doing. They are going above and beyond just saying, yeah, we're going to enforce these laws that Congress has written, we're just doing our jobs. They're going beyond that. The ATF is choosing to go and do the next step further and ban things that are not banned by the actual definition of the law. All of that because of the bump stock. So when people say things like, why are you throwing such a fit about the bump stocks? They were just a useless toy, or you admitted that bump stocks are useless. You can't even aim with the bump stock. Why are you so upset about it? You short-sighted fuds. They simply don't understand, and they lack the real ability to take a step back and look at the power that they gave the ATF. Every single person that said, the bump stocks seem like a fine compromise or a fine concession to the left, understand that that is exactly why we are now facing the situation like the pistol brace ban, which would put millions and millions of gun owners who have legally possessed property for some 8, almost 10 years at this point, and make them felons overnight without any real recourse for making their firearms legal. People in the state of California who might have bought a pistol with the brace on it, you can't actually register it as an SBR in the state of California. People in many other states would also be subject to that same kind of regulation. If your firearms now are being made by a new manufacturer and the definition of a frame or receiver changes, it might change whether uppers or lowers or both of them would be considered the firearm in any future manufacturing case. There are huge implications beyond just being able to make a firearm or make an AR pistol in the comfort of your own home. These are huge regulatory changes that have all been built upon the ATF's ability to regulate in the same way that we gave them the power to with the bump stock ban. I know that I've gone on far too long about this, but this is really important, and I wanted to kind of have a more rational, calm video where I discuss the importance of why the bump stock ban is such a big deal, and discuss at the same time the situation going on with the Gun Owners of America. The Gun Owners of America and the Firearms Policy Coalition are the two big orgs right now that are doing the real fights. And while it is good to see the NRA stepping on board and finally saying, yeah, we're going to fight the ATF, guys, we totally cared the whole time, when in reality we know for a fact that the bump stock ban was supported and encouraged by the NRA. So it's good to see this progress happening, and I think that it's important to have these conversations because many people just simply, they aren't really tuned in enough to understand why the bump stock ban was such a big deal in the first place and why we should care and how it's going to be affecting and how it is currently affecting you right now. Let me know what you guys think down below. I would really encourage you guys sharing this video on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, because I think more people need to understand the real reason why the bump stock ban was a bad thing. It's not necessarily that I actually care about bump stocks because, again, they're useless. They are less accurate than simply bump firing from your shoulder. People really got up in arms about my video showing me asking, like, was the bump stock ban effective? It was a short video where I was bump firing from the hip and then bump firing from the shoulder. And they're like, yeah, but you couldn't hit anything like that. Shooting like that from the shoulder with an AR, bump firing from the shoulder without a bump stock, is actually more accurate, in my opinion, than shooting with a bump stock from the shoulder. Anyone that's actually tried to spend some time behind a bump stock like I have and actually get good at it knows that the fact that the gun moves so much makes it basically only good at shooting at a hillside size object. The bump stock ban wasn't effective. The bump stock ban did not save lives. The bump stock ban was useless. The bump stock ban did put precedents forward as far as how the ATF is going to continue to try to ruin your life and ruin my life. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.